Good afternoon. I'm Greg Braxton with the Los Angeles Times, and we're talking with one of the stars of one of the most acclaimed series on network TV, American Crime. Please welcome Felicity Huffman. So good to see you.
It's always so good to see you.
3 seasons, three incredible characters on American Crime. This season was very much different from what you've played before. First of all, what has this experience been like for you to be
The whole experience?
the whole experience?
It has been several things. One, it's been sort of a acting tutorial. All 3 years has been. It's been an exercise in faith because we did the pilot and we thought it would never get picked up. And it did, and then the second season and the third season. And it's been, I would say all around, it's an education. I got to work with wonderful people, wonderful actors, wonderful directors, and the network just supported us. I mean, it's kind of what you want in a parent, sort of, at least as a child. You want them to support you and also leave you alone, and that's really what they did. They said, "Go do your thing."
So, in this gallery of characters that you played, where would you put
Jeanette,
Jeanette?
I would put her as the good fairy. She's Glinda the Good. She is, it's interesting, she is, I think, the most pure of heart of those characters, and I think she has the least agency of all those characters. She is, I mean, in keeping with the themes of the third season of American Crime, she has the smallest voice. She has the she has the least identity, and the most, I would say, pure of heart.
Because in the previous 2 seasons, you played very hard-edged women who weren't really immediately likable, and it's due to your talent and your craft that you made them so human. You made them so relatable, and you understood where those women were coming from in a way. Was it weird to sort of take a departure from that in the season?
It was kind of a relief, but to tell you the truth, you know, seasons 1, Barb Hanlon, season 2, Leslie Graham, I think to do it properly, you have to get to a place where you can actually endorse that character, regardless of what they're doing. And so I tried to make sure that with each person, I gave them a point of view that was understandable and empathetic. You know, Barb is trying to take care of her children, and Leslie is trying to take care of this institution which does a lot of good, the school. And Leslie's a politician, and a politician, you have to weigh everything and come to some compromise, so nobody's happy. And so I always felt like my motivation was unassailable. I was like, I'm trying to do good here. I understand that everybody doesn't understand that. So when I finally got to a character where I go, I'm trying to do good here, and people weren't going, oh my God, I hate you, it was a relief.
What was your reaction when you first saw
Jeanette?
Yeah.
I was thrilled. John and I talked a little bit about, you know, the third season and the world that it's going to live in, and the character that I was going to play, and I thought, oh great, I would love to play someone who feels voiceless and helpless, and, you know, a woman that goes out and goes, oh, I can't get divorced in a year, which means I don't have any funds for a year, I can't get a car loan, I can't rent an apartment. Someone who actually feels somewhat invisible.
Now, her storyline takes place against the background of this illegal immigration crisis, which is taking place on this farm, and Jeanette comes to realize in a very horrific way some of the conditions that she had previously been unaware of. What was your education like in terms of getting into this issue and seeing some of the things that go on in real life on these farms?
I went to the the shoot. We started shooting, and I wanted to be as ignorant as Jeanette was about those issues. As I was talking to like Julie Ebert or John Ridley, I would go, don't tell me, I don't want to know, because I wanted to discover it in the scene. And I realize I'm as ignorant as Jeanette was. I know very little about it. I think the difference is it takes some effort when you work and live in a farm community, and her husband, ran the farms, to be ignorant. And so I think it was on purpose, and mine was sheer negligence. But it was an education to learn what went on in illegal immigration and forced labor, and it brought to the fore that question of what the hidden costs of things, and can we all have the American dream without stepping on the American dream of someone else?
And yet you, Felicity, are very aware of the political situation and the whole controversy surrounding this issue. So you weren't totally...
No, I wasn't totally, but I wasn't highly educated on it.
Right.
I mean, even for me, when we went on the set, and the art department did a wonderful job of looking at what these immigration camps look like, that are hidden deep in the woods. And it was just jaw-dropping, to actually look at that burned out RV that 20 people had died in, 15 to 20 people had died in, and go, oh my gosh, the experience. It's what's great about storytelling or television or film, is that because it's visceral and you experience it, it changes you.
Now, one thing about Jeanette is she looks very different
Yeah.
from what we're used to seeing you look like. And,
Yeah.
and it's a little startling to see you. Physical transformation. What did you do?
With each year, I tried to have a different look and base it on who the character was and what the action is. Characters based on action. So with Barb Hanlon, I just tried to have her fly under the radar, nice pants, very plain, so no one would notice her out of a lineup. She didn't want to be noticed. She just wanted to be respectful, because her action was to be effective and not noticed. And I wanted Leslie Graham to be curvy and attractive, and for women to go, where'd you get that skirt? I'd like to wear that, so that people would come into the school and support it. And I thought with Jeanette Hesby this year, because her total objective in life had been, I want to help everyone. I want everyone to feel better. Are you okay? I mean, the number of times that John and the writers wrote, are you okay? For the first 2 or 3 episodes was a lot. And I thought, I think this is the kind of woman that comes into a room and absorbs. She just wants to take in the energy and take in your pain and not move the water around, not cause waves, just be there and help lift. And so I thought that would be a different silhouette. I wanted a rounder silhouette. I talked to John and I said, I think since she's absorbing everything, I want to gain some weight. And he said, yes, can you gain 25 pounds? And I said, well, we're shooting in a month, so I don't think I can gain 25 pounds, although it sounded fantastic. So I ended up eating anything I wanted, which was fabulous. And I gained about 12, and then I went to the wonderful costume designer, and we designed a 25-pound, or now, whatever, 25 minus 12, about a 15-pound weight gain. And her silhouette's different. And my sister and my good friend live in North Carolina, so they took pictures of people at the grocery store and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of women have that kind of hair, so we did for that, and a lot of women have that kind of makeup. So that's how I came up with it.
So how did carrying around that extra weight feel for you, and how do you think it helped you in your performance?
It's a great question. It made me feel very vulnerable. It made me feel somewhat embarrassed of like, I don't have a nice body, and she was covering up. So I think it made me more vulnerable and open and powerless. That's what it made me do. And I remember the first couple times I worked with the wonderful actor, Dallas Roberts. Finally in this scene, we hugged, and we broke apart, and I said, geez, I hope my silicone didn't like cause a dent. And he went, that's silicone? And I was like, yes, that's silicone. I'm not this shape. And he was like, it's a nice shape. I didn't know. I thought maybe you gained a bunch of weight since the last time I saw you.
Wow. You have some really intense scenes with him. Had you worked with him before?
Never. He's famous in New York theater circles
Right.
because he's such a brilliant actor. And I'd heard about him for years. And when John and Michael said, we need someone for your husband, I said, what about this guy? And he got the part, of course. He's brilliant. And he came on set and he said, I've never met you before, but I understand you suggested me for this. But he raises the level of your game. I mean, him, Cherry Jones, Tim DeKay, it was like playing in the NBA. It was great.
So Jeanette makes this discovery when several farm workers are killed in this just devastating fire, and it starts to bring out something in her that she had never experienced before. And then when she tries to express what would be a normal reaction, she meets resistance immediately. Um, what was it like to sort of, for your character to go through that?
I think it was one of those. I think it was one of those occurrences where you think the world is a certain way, and then in a moment it shifts, and you think, this feels like I'm a stranger in a strange land. I think Jeanette comes into that going, oh my gosh, people are hurt. We have to take action. Let's take care of people. Let's get ahead of it. And thinking, of course, everyone's going to go, yes, we're all humanists. And everyone says, wait, no, that is not how business as usual is done. You know what they say, deny, 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 deny. And I think it's the first time she thinks that she experiences the world as completely different than what she thought. And I think it was alienating. And then I think the next thing that happens for her is the forced labor, illegal immigration, all those people that work in that area, I think she felt a connection to, because she said, in a very small way, I also am powerless. I also have no autonomy or agency in the world.
And she finds out ultimately how powerless she is when she makes this personal discovery that she is going to fight this or try to do something about it, and then she is bludgeoned by what her family comes back with.
Well, she's bludgeoned by what her family comes back with, and she's bludgeoned by the law, which is, you have to wait a year. You can ask for divorce, but you have to wait a year. And in that year, your husband isn't required, or your wife isn't required to pay you anything. And she doesn't have anything in her name. It's that. So that's the law. And yes, you're right. There is something about waking up after, I don't know, 30, 40 years of marriage and going, oh, there's no me in this we. It's all the marriage and you. So I think she felt completely powerless.
You've always seemed to portray very strong characters,
Mm-hmm.
and personally you're very strong. So what was it like to have to channel that kind of just loss in this character?
Well, yes, I always play strong characters, and I present as very strong, but I think like everyone, or like a lot of people I know, what lies beneath is kind of a reservoir of, for me, fear and despair. So I think it was pretty easy to kind of put down the sort of, okay, I'm going to do it, put down my learned competency and fall back into, I'm frightened. That was sort of easy.
That was easy for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm frightened all the time.
No.
I am. I wake up. I was talking to my friend Austin about it. I wake up in the morning and I go, oh my God, I'm so frightened of everything. Yes, absolutely.
Wow. We have some questions from some of the people that are watching this. That
Hi, guys.
what was your favorite role, Barb, Leslie, or Jeanette?
Jeanette was my favorite role.
Why?
Because I've never played that character on film or television before. And I was so grateful to John and Michael. And I'd never be cast in that character, except maybe now that people see it, I can hopefully do it. So it was my favorite because of that. It was the biggest jump for me.
Is there any other character that you would have liked to have played
In
on?
season 3, no. I only wanted to play Jeanette.
So you really did see something special in her.
I really did. I love a simple story. I mean, I love a story about a simple housewife. You know, she's not a heroic housewife. She has an awakening, she struggles, and ultimately she fails. And I think John is great at telling stories about people who don't have a voice. And I think that included her.
So people must have had, during the 3 seasons of American Crime, people who run into you must have had differing reactions to you when they want to talk to you about what's going on. So what did they want to talk about with Jeanette?
You know what's interesting is the first 2 seasons they sort of talked about, you know, I didn't like you, or oh, you were so hard to take, or oh, your first character broke my heart, but God, I wouldn't want to have dinner with her. And then the third character, it's funny, they didn't talk about me, Jeanette. They talked about, oh, your husband. Oh, your husband was so awful. I can't believe. Oh, I just want him to shape up and wake up. And so they talked about her predicament and not her character, which I thought was interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
And so how would you respond to them?
I would say, I don't know, I would say yes. I understood I understood Dallas Roberts, the character he played. I understood his point of view. I did, you know, he felt the same way. He's like, we're going along in this lovely marriage and it's working out perfectly, and you take care of my every need and I take care of your every need. You live in a lovely house. And suddenly someone wakes up and goes, oh, that doesn't mean anything to me. I want something different. And people go, wait, we're playing Monopoly and now you're changing it to Parcheesi. So I mainly talked about what a great actor Dallas Roberts is.
Jeanette has to make a very deliberate decision about moving forward, what she's going to do when she discovers the dire straits that she's in. And some may have interpreted it as her selling out or whatever, but what was reaching that point in her arc like for you?
It was heartbreaking and understandable. I mean, it's one thing to say, I will suffer whatever it takes to be independent. And it's another thing when you go, wait, now these 2 children depend on me. And I will do whatever it takes to take care of these children. I think she has gone, much like Regina's character in a way, she's gone from, it's the opposite of Regina's character. She's gone from, I'm going to take care of myself. She starts out saying, I take care of everybody else. Then she says, I think I'm going to take care of myself, and I think I'm going to try and take care of those who need taking care of truly. And then she has to fall back and say, I can only take care of this very small portion of the world, my 2 nieces. And to act it felt heartbreaking. Inevitable. I wouldn't change it. Of course she had to choose that, but it felt heartbreaking.
How did you feel about the choice that she had to make?
I felt like she made the right choice. I think she had to take care of her nieces, but I thought it was a tragedy.
There's some other questions here. Who has been your favorite partner to work with?
In all 3 years? That's a question. My favorite partner for all 3 years, Dallas Roberts.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys had, I mean, for people who hadn't met each other before, you guys had a real electricity with each other.
Yeah, well, he's one of those actors that I think has electricity with everyone. I mean, he walked on the set, I think, for a read-through, and I went, that's my husband? What are you talking about? Because, you know, he's this cool New Yorker with, like bracelets that are barbed wire, and he smokes a, pipe, not a pipe, he smokes one of those E things, and he's super groovy and cool and talks about art. And then he'd go into wardrobe and he'd come out as this, his hair is brushed and he looks kind of like, he's the Fredo character in The Godfather. He looks like the good, obedient brother who takes care of things and only looks this far. And it was an amazing transformation. And yet he brings all this complicated, wonderful, inventive stuff when you act with him. I mean, there were so many scenes where we'd start out and I'd be going, whoa, wow, that's what you're doing? And I'd turn to the director and I'd go, just be on him. We don't need a two-shot, just be on him.
American Crime has been put such a stamp, I think, on network television, and you guys have gotten such an avalanche of acclaim. Unfortunately, the ride is over. And, some may argue, well, it didn't hit the numbers, maybe it was too raw, maybe it was too much, maybe, you're seeing stuff in the paper and then you see something like American Crime, as well crafted as it is. It's not easy viewing. What's your feeling about where the show has been and sort of what has ultimately happened?
I think several things. One, I really hope it does change the face of network TV. And I think it has to, because I think everyone has got to get involved in that, like, it's as good as cable. I mean, we just have to. We're all competing. So I hope it does. I hope it leaves a lasting mark and is kind of a trim tab that moves the big ship. Buckminster Fuller, the trim tabs. You're like, yes, of course, I'm a smart guy.
Of course. Do exactly what you're
You're
saying.
smart. I also applaud ABC for having, ovaries of steel to go, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it right. And I'm very sad it's over. I'm really sad it's over. I think John is a visionary, and I think it's true. It is hard to watch because there is entertainment and there is art. And I think American Crime was more weighed in the art, and the purpose of art is to tell the truth. And I think the purpose of entertainment is for people to have a good time.
So you've had 2 landmark series on CBS.
ABC.
ABC, I'm sorry.
Oh my
ABC.
God, now they're going to come and kill you.
They'll kill me, don't worry about it. ABC, Desperate Housewives and American Crime.
Yeah.
When you look back and just to be on 2 shows like that, and they're both historic shows, what is your feeling, especially now that you've really had a little more perspective to look back on on Desperate Housewives and what that meant for you?
Well, I feel like it's 3 landmark shows because Sports Night,
too.
Desperate. I mean, Sports Night only lived for 2 years, but I think it was a game changer. I think Desperate Housewives was a game changer in the sense that women over 40, suddenly you go, look, they're viable, they can carry a show, they're sexy, they're funny, and I think that changed programming. And I think in the same way, American Crime hopefully will change it. And I feel super blessed and grateful to have been on those 3 shows. I sort of go, I don't know what I did right, but I hope I don't step wrong and end it. But it's been wonderful.
There's some other questions that I wanted to ask you, non-American Crime. What was the last series that you binge watched?
That I binge watched? Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
And what drew you to Atlanta?
A good friend of mine, Ellen Etten, went, you have to watch Atlanta. And I loved it because, it was a voice I hadn't heard. It was a world that I was unfamiliar with. And I just loved how they combined raw realism and fantasy. I like it when people create new things.
Barring the 3 classic shows that you've been on, what classic show would you have liked to have
been on in the past?
In the past.
Oh, geez, classic show in the past? I Dream of Jeannie. I just always wanted to do that. I'd like to be on Shameless. That's a classic show.
Yeah. What would you want to do on Shameless?
I'd want to do something totally different and that people couldn't recognize me. I don't know. I'd want to be one of the Russian hookers. Something like that. Felicity's dream to be a Russian hooker. I'll just let Trump know that.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah.
Walter White or Tony Soprano?
Oh, Tony Soprano. Why? You don't agree?
Well,
Would you pick Walter White?
I am not the. I'm.
You're the journalist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're Switzerland. Yeah, Tony Soprano.
Okay. Now you have to explain.
I do? All right. Well, because it interests me. I understand the through line was, Walter White, good guy, becomes a criminal. Tony Soprano, criminal, who's also a good guy. And that interested me. And also, I just, James Gandolfini, I could watch him read the phone book. That's why.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Which one would you pick? I know you're a journalist, but
I think I'd have to go with Walter White.
see, I knew I could tell it because I'm an actor and I could tell what came on your face.
I'd have to go with Walter White.
You're even a little disappointed that I picked Tony Soprano.
Well, no, I
don't lie.
I'm still Switzerland here. In terms of what's coming up now that American Crime is, although there's buzz that it may be revived.
Aw, sweet. Also, King Arthur's supposed to come back at any point. What is up? I'm producing a few things, and we'll see if I can get them to the small screen. That's what I'm doing. I optioned a wonderful book called, oh my God, you would love it. The writing is unbelievable. It's called The Iron Will of Shoeshine Cats. My brother was on vacation, found it in Nevis, one of those bookshelves. You're like, oh, everybody left their books. Picked it up, read it, called me and said, you got to make this into a television show. So I'm working on that with Warner Brothers and Aaron Kaplan. And then I'm also doing something with my friend Rachel Winter about a wonderful FBI, she's now retired agent called Christy Cottis.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And
Well-
I'll be, hanging out, rearranging my saran wrap drawer, that kind of thing.
And doing your stunning for the Russian hooker role. Just
That's
in case,
right,
because
yeah, I'm
I
working on
understand
that.
you may have an end with that show. You never know.
I might. I'm sleeping with one of the guys. It's on the QT, but yeah.
Well, once again, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
all your work on American Crime.
love
It's
talking to you.
Just stupendous. And we'll be looking for more Felicity in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for being such a supporter of the show.
Oh,
You made a
absolutely.
huge difference.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think we went 3 seasons basically because of you.
Oh, now I'm blushing.
true.
But- Thank you very much for watching. And for more chats like this, please go to latimes.com. Thank you very much.